The Atlanteans were not gods. They were humans who simply believed they could outsmart the sea. They said it was paradise, a city of marble and gold, where gods walked beside men. Its towers pierced the clouds. Its harbors glowed with fire and light. And then the sea took it all. Before the flood, there was Atlantis, a kingdom so perfect, even the gods grew jealous. This is the story of the empire that drowned. Before we dive into the deep, hit subscribe and join us as we bring lost history back to life. No one knows where Atlantis truly stood. Some say beyond the Pillars of Heracles, the place we now call Gibraltar. Others whisper it lies buried beneath the sands of the Sahara or frozen under the ice of Antarctica. But the story begins not with its fall. It begins with its splendor. Plato was the first to tell it, not as myth, but as memory. A memory passed down from priests of Egypt, who spoke of a mighty island empire beyond the Atlantic. An empire born from divine blood. For in the age before history, the god Poseidon fell in love with a mortal woman, Cleito. From their union came 10 sons, and from those sons, 10 kings. Together they ruled Atlantis, a realm unmatched in all the world. The island itself was a marvel, ring upon ring of land and sea, encircled by shining walls of red, white, and black stone. Bridges crossed the waters like veins of gold. Gardens bloomed in endless green. In the heart of the capital rose a temple so vast, its columns reached 100 feet high, its roof plated in silver, its walls in pure gold. Within stood the statue of Poseidon, god of the sea, driving 6-winged horses across the waves. His eyes made of jewels, his hands outstretched in power. The people of Atlantis thrived. They mastered the seas, sending fleets across the world. Their ships carried bronze and spices, ivory and wine. Their engineers built aqueducts that shimmered in the sun and roads that glowed white beneath the moon. They tamed the storms, bent the tides, raised cities where there had once been sand. They called themselves the favorite of the gods. And for a time, they were. But nothing gold ever stays. As generations passed, the blood of gods thinned into the blood of men. And with it came pride. The kings of Atlantis began to hunger for more than the riches of their own island. They sailed east, conquering the lands of Europe and Africa. Their armies burned across the seas, armored in bronze and arrogance. The world trembled before them. They forgot the voice of the sea that had once blessed them. They forgot that divinity, once lost, does not forgive. The priests warned them. The omens came in whispers, the earth trembling beneath marble temples, tides rising higher with every moon. Statues wept salt. The air turned heavy with silence. But the kings laughed. They built higher. They feasted louder. They filled their harbors with gold and their temples with pride. They believed they had mastered the sea, when in truth, they had only borrowed it. Plato wrote that the gods gathered in council. They watched as Atlantis grew drunk on its own glory. They saw the greed, the cruelty, the decay of once pure hearts. And in the silence of Olympus, Zeus rose. He looked upon the shining island, its towers, its temples, its arrogance, and spoke the words that sealed its fate. Their strength has become their sin. Their wealth has become their curse. Let the waters take back what was never theirs. And the sky began to change. The sun dimmed behind a veil of cloud. Winds rose from the west, black and endless. The sea withdrew from the shore, leaving ships stranded on bare sand. The air shuddered with a sound that had no name. The voice of the ocean preparing to strike. The priests fell to their knees. The kings still stood tall. And far across the horizon, the first wave began to rise. The people of Atlantis stared as the water grew higher than walls, higher than towers, higher than the temple of Poseidon itself. The ground cracked. Fire spilled from the mountains. The sea roared like a god enraged. And in that final moment before the flood, silence fell. A silence so deep, it seemed the world held its breath. The High King turned his gaze to the heavens, to the god who had once given his blood, and whispered a prayer lost to time. Then the ocean came. The first wave hit like thunder. Walls shattered. Ships were thrown into the sky like toys. Temples cracked from their foundations, statues toppled, and marble streets split open beneath the weight of the earth's fury. The sea rushed in, devouring everything, gardens, palaces, towers, until all that remained was a whirlpool of chaos and flame. Men screamed the names of their gods. Women clutched their children and prayed to the wind. But the gods had already turned away. The fires of Atlantis burned beneath the waves. In the heart of the island, the great temple of Poseidon began to collapse. Its golden roof caved in with a sound like the breaking of the world. The priests tried to carry the sacred idols to safety, but the waters came faster than footsteps, swallowing them whole. In moments, the altar that had once glowed with divine light was gone, consumed by black water and silence. The mountains split open. From their wounds poured rivers of molten stone, glowing red as blood. The sea boiled. The air turned to smoke. The king of Atlantis, last of the sons of Poseidon, stood upon his palace steps and watched his empire die. He raised his arms to the storm, to the god who had once blessed his line, and cried out, "If I have sinned, let my soul be taken, but spare my people." The only answer was thunder. And then the palace fell. They say the sea did not simply rise, it reached. It pulled the island down, stone by stone, tower by tower, until even the peaks of its mountains vanished beneath the churning waves. For a single night, the ocean glowed with fire, the last light of Atlantis burning beneath the surface of the world. And by morning, there was nothing. No sound, no shore, only a vast, empty sea. Atlantis was gone. But legends do not drown so easily. Some say a few survived, sailors who clung to driftwood, priests who fled before the flood, carrying with them fragments of their world. They spoke of a sunken empire, of gods and gold and fire. They taught what they remembered, the knowledge of stars, the secrets of stone, the geometry of the divine. In Egypt, the priests of Sais told Solon the tale. They said their ancestors were taught by men from the west, pale-skinned, flame-eyed, speaking of a kingdom lost to the sea. In Greece, echoes of Atlantis bled into myth, into the stories of floods and titans, of gods who punished men for their pride. Even across oceans, in the temples of the Maya and the pyramids of forgotten lands, the pattern repeats. A golden age, a great flood, a silence that follows. Perhaps they were all remembering the same thing. Perhaps Atlantis was not just a city, but a memory, the shadow of a civilization that reached too high and fell too far. Still, the question endures. Was Atlantis ever real? Some believe it was only a parable, Plato's warning about the arrogance of power. Others insist it was real, a distant echo of some forgotten cataclysm. They point to ruins beneath the Atlantic, to ancient maps of lands that no longer exist, to strange alignments between the pyramids of Egypt and the temples of the Americas. Too much coincidence, they say, for myth alone. But perhaps that is the lesson of Atlantis, that truth and legend are not enemies, but reflections, that even myths can remember. Imagine the ocean floor, far beyond the reach of light. There, among coral and stone, lie shapes no current can erase, circles upon circles, pillars half buried in sand. Once, they were streets, homes, a world. The sea keeps its secrets well. Thousands of years have passed, and yet we still search. We scan the depths with sonar and satellites, chasing the whisper of a city that refuses to die. Because Atlantis was never just a place. It was an idea that men could live like gods, that perfection could be built, that eternity could be made by human hands. And that, perhaps, is why it fell. In every age, the story repeats itself. Empires rise, believing themselves immortal. They build monuments to their own glory. They stretch toward the heavens. And then, the sea comes for them too. It may not be water this time, maybe fire, maybe time itself, but the pattern remains. The sea always returns. When Plato wrote of Atlantis, he ended with a single, haunting line. Then came a great earthquake and flood, and in a single day and night, the island of Atlantis disappeared beneath the sea. A single day, a single night, and an empire was gone. But legends do not need proof. They need belief. And belief can outlive stone. So when the tide rises and the wind hums across the deep, listen closely. You might still hear it, the faint echo of drums beneath the water, the whisper of a city breathing in its sleep. Atlantis did not vanish. It simply changed its name to legend. If you enjoyed this video, please kindly support by subscribing to this channel. Also, so well to check out other interesting videos from this channel. Thank you.